All right, I think we're finally at the point in our discussion and in our drawing of the architectural floor plan where we can start looking at the dimensioning. Okay, so I'm going to take you through the steps to create a dimension style that's going to match what we have in the floor plan, the blueprints that um, for the final project. Okay, so let's have a look at these. Um, in this dimensioning scheme or system that we have here, we have the arrowheads are replaced with what are called architectural tick marks. There's an extension beyond the dimension line here, as well as an extension above the dimension line, right, which is normal. The units are above the dimension line, and notice that they're aligned with the dimension line. All right, so this isn't horizontal, this is aligned with the dimension line. All right, we also see that we have the feet and inches in our dimension. So what we want to do is we want to change our dimension style so that it matches as close as possible to this style. So I'm not going to get into the text font. I don't think that that is too useful. And actually the font that we are using right now is going to be fine. It's going to look good. Some of the other fonts in there, especially some of the architectural fonts, sometimes don't print or look very well. They're kind of difficult to read. So we're going to stick with the font, but we are going to adjust and change and modify as much as we can. We'll also put in some of the notation here, such as the room names. Okay, so let's get started. So so the first thing that we want to do is we want to it's going to be helpful to figure out where we're going to be placing this drawing. Okay, it's not necessarily imperative or critical that we figure out the location and then the scale of the drawing first before we do the dimension style, but it kind of helps if you know that ahead of time. So we're going to do that now. In the assignment requirement, it says we're going to plot it to at a 1/4 inch equals 1 foot scale. So we have to find what kind of tile block and border fits into that. I'm going to move this a little bit closer because I think this is a little bit far apart. So I'm going to move it. You know, I can always move it later if I feel like it needs to be separated more. But I'm just going to move them together because I think that'll help with the view. So let's look at a B-size sheet. Okay, so we go to a B-size sheet, and I already have this set at a 1/4 inch equals a foot. Okay. And you can see that there's no way I'm going to get two floor plans, I should say, in there. I mean, I probably could if I wasn't dimensioning them, right? But for me to get this drawing closer is going to be a little bit tight. Now, I may be able to do it. So that's what I mean. You know, this is not, nothing is set in stone right here. But you can see this. And then if I go to the next size up, which is D size, and we double click in here and go to a 1/4 inch equals a foot. Okay. So now, yeah, now we definitely can get these, and this might even be too much room. So we're somewhere in between ANSI C and ANSI D, or C size and D size sheets. We might be able to get it into C size, but we're going to have to be real smart about how we lay out our dimensions. Okay, if it's not going to fit here, then D size is going to be what it is. But we got that set, so I'm going to go back to model space, and remember the rule, we got to set this at a 1/4 inch equals a foot. So there we go. All right, so now that being done, let's start looking at our dimension style. So dimension style can be found under the annotate ribbon. And it's all of the styles can be found by clicking on this diagonal arrow in the corner of the panel, right? So that's the dimension style. This is the text panel, so that's the text style. This is the leader panel, so that's the leader style. Table panel, so that's the table style command. All right, so we're doing dimension style, so let me click on this. And really, what we're going to do is just march right through and make our modifications. And I have all this set, so this is going to be given to you on the in Canvas, so you can just kind of follow through. So we're going to use as a basis the MVCC ANSI English. Now, if you're using the architectural style, like I said earlier, this is all done for you. Okay. So in case you want to tweak it a little bit from the architectural style, then certainly you can use what I'm going to be talking about to kind of tweak and adjust, according to your personal preference. But essentially the architectural style, the architectural template already has all that set in there. So we're going to be looking at modifying this. So first thing I want to do is I want to make a copy of this. So I'm going to go to New, and notice that it's always going to start a new dimension style with an existing one as its basis. So it says right here, the new style name is copy of MVCC ANSI English. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to rename this because I don't want it to look like that. I'm going to rename it and call it MVCC Architectural. You don't have to rename it. This is just so that I can show you how to rename it. So MVCC Architectural. I do want to make sure it's annotative, and I want to use it for all dimensions. So let's do continue. Okay, so now we're in our new system here, or our new style here. So in the first thing we want to do is go to symbols and arrows right here. So we click on symbols and arrows, and I want to change my tick size, or my tick type, my arrowhead, to an architectural tick. And you can see that changes there. That's all we want to do here. So now I'm going to go back to lines, and I want to change this, extend beyond ticks. I want to make this say 1/8 of an inch. So I'm going to type in 0.125 because that is 1/8 of an inch, so we can do that. And everything is good there. So I'm going to hit enter and do that. All right. So lines and arrows, symbols. Now let's go to text. Anything that we need to change here? Yes. We want text alignment to be aligned with dimension lines. You can see how that changed. And we want text placement to be above. And again, use this as a guide to see how things are changing. And that looks good so far. It's a little tough to read, but that's just because we're in the layer that we're in. Okay. The text style right now is MVCC. And like I said, we're going to leave that alone. All right. We're just going to leave that as is. If you wanted to change that, there are different ones that you can change to, or you can even make your own. This box right here will open up the dimension style box so that you can adjust the style, you can pick a new font, all that good stuff. That gets really detailed. So let me cancel that. Okay, so lines and arrows, symbols and arrows, text. Now let's go to fit. Anything here? This is all good, okay? And especially we want to leave this as annotative. Primary units. Now here, unit format, we want this to be architectural. Precision, we can leave it at 1/8 of an inch, or you can make it, you know that in this drawing there's nothing less than 1/2 of an inch, but 1/8 of an inch is fine. And zero suppression, we do not want to suppress any 0 inches or 0 feet, okay? So we're good there. And that's it. So we say okay. And then we want to, there it is right there. We want to click on that, and we want to set it as our current style. And then we close. All right, people, that was it. All right. Now, what we need to do now is we need to test it out. Okay, so and that's why we went ahead to the ANSI C and set this at 1/4 of an inch, and then went back to model space and set this at 1/4 of an inch, so that we can now go to change our layer to dimension, and we can go and test this out. Okay, so let's go to linear here, and let's put a dimension right here. Okay. And let's put another dimension in here. So we'll go from here to here. And maybe we'll put one in from here to here. All I'm doing is I'm using the dimensions that are shown in the drawing, in the blueprint that we're copying. All right, now that looks pretty good. In fact, that's exactly what we want. There's a couple of things that that we notice here. First of all, instead of 24'0", it just says 24. All right. So let's see how we can change that. So let's go to annotate and go back to our dimension style and go into that one, and we're going to modify it. And what we're talking about modifying is primary units. And what we have here is we want to show the 0 inches. All right, now I'm noticing that this is not selected, so that should be, let's see. Oh, you know what else I forgot to do? Fraction format, this should be diagonal. Okay. And architectural, so everything looks good. And I'm not seeing why this is suppressing 0 inches, because it's not checked. So let's go here, let's set that to current, and let's close. And let's get some fractions in here, because I think that's what we're missing. If I go from here to here, this should be 10'7.5". Now, what I am noticing is that this text is awfully large. These dimensions are awfully large. So if I go to the D size sheet, that looks appropriate. But C size, am I going to be able to get these in? See, this is what I'm worried about, is getting this in over here. So that's where it's going to be tight, whether we can get this in. Let me, I think what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to dimension one view and get the text as tight as you can. We might, you know what, here, let's do this. I think we can make the text a little bit smaller. So let me show you how that is. Let's go here and we'll modify this. And let's go to text. And right now the text height is 1/8 of an inch. Now notice that it's grayed out. What that means is that the text height is being determined by the text style. So if I click on this, and there's no way to change that. Okay, so it's set to 1/8 of an inch. We can take this down a bit. So, you know, I don't know whether that's really going to help making that smaller. Yeah, so I don't think we're going to be able to manipulate the text size a little bit. We can, yeah, because this is set right here, and it's a paper space text height because it's annotative. All right, so so there's no change that we can do for that. Okay, so I think that just tells me that we're going to have to, you know, deal with that the way it is. And if you want to get it to a C-size sheet, then you're going to have to be very judicious in how we get the dimensions on this side. Let's see if we can do that. So there, it looks like there's 2 rows of dimensions. So if we go, where is it, linear? So let's go here, and it looks like it goes to the midpoint, and we can put that there. So maybe if you're careful in applying your dimensions, this goes all the way down here, and that's 30 feet. I'm a little bit alarmed at my inability to add 0 feet here. And I'm looking at this, and this should be controlled right there, and you can see it's not. So I want to have a look at that. So one other way that we can look is to click on the dimension and then right click and go to properties. And you can see we don't need tolerances. We want to look at primary units, and you can see that suppress 0 inches is set to yes. And we want this set to no. Right. Now let me show you a little trick here. Okay, so we change that one. While we're here, let's go to text. Text height 0. Okay, so text height, so that's controlled by the text style. We may be able to do something there. I'll have one last thing before we finish this. Okay, but notice that I changed that one. Now watch what I'm going to do. I'm going to go to Home and Match Properties, and I'm going to take that and I'm going to match it to that one. Okay, do you see what I did there? Now it's very interesting. Let me go back to this. And yeah, it's very interesting because it doesn't have that that check. So anyway, we fixed that one. Okay, so we can, where we need to, we can adjust those. You might be able to get the spacing in here. You know, that's certainly, and on this side there may not be a lot of dimensions. So what I'm thinking is that if you move these views a little bit closer together, like so, because actually there's no dimensions on the left side of the second floor plan. Okay, so if we look at the dimensioning scheme that we have here, there's no dimensions here on the left side of the second floor plan. On the right side, there's 1 row of dimensions right there. So that may be doable. And what you're going to have to do is get the dimensions on this, and then just get the dimensions on everything, and then just move them closer together and try to get it to the C size. Okay, but whether you actually get it to the C size or the D size, it doesn't really matter. You know, because you'll just be, as long as it's 1/4 inch equals a foot, then you're good. Okay, so I will have some additional notation for the dimension style settings that I made on Canvas, so that you can actually see those while you're listening to them. All right, so good luck, and I'll see you in the next video.